Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a easy and fun DIY project that is perfect for the holidays, but honestly this really cute curved zipper pouch is good for any time of the year. I like to make a handful of these and have them ready if you need a gift for your children's teachers, their principals, if you need gifts for members of your synagogue, for your church, co-workers, friends and the like. If you're going to a holiday party and at someone's house and you want to take a little hostess gift or host gift, these are so easy and come together so nicely and so quickly. Let's get into all of the detail. The best part, guys, is there is a free pattern from Made for Mermaids, and it's super simple with just two main pattern pieces and a 7-inch zipper. I'll drop the link below for the Made for Mermaids curved zipper pouch. I'll also walk you through in this video every step. And trust me, these come together in less than 30 minutes. For this project, I'm using some gorgeous scrap fabric from my stash, a vibrant pre-quilted fabric, and a beautiful cotton print from Minerva that I had left over from a dress I made earlier this season. You'll also need some flex foam or fleece for structure and a good interfacing to give your pouch that really nice professional finish. So grab your supplies and let's get started. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. All right, guys, let's get to it. There is one more very small ancillary pattern piece that you'll need to cut, and it is the curved zipper pouch, the zipper in. And you just want to cut two of these, one in your main fabric and then one in your lining fabric. And because I am using a quilted cotton, I just chose a very similarly colored piece of cotton for this. And what you're going to do is place it on your zipper, and you're basically going to sandwich the zipper in between those two pieces of cotton. And the cotton is, both pieces of the cotton, the lining as well as the main piece, are right sides facing. So the zipper is centered inside, and we're just going to stitch that down across the short end. And you can use a zipper foot if you like. I'm going to be really careful here because I'm not going to really get that close to the zipper. Back stitch. You want to go ahead and give this a little bit of a press. Flip it down this way and go ahead and give it a little bit of a press. All right, starting here on the straight edge on the right side of your main fabric, and you can go ahead and unzip your zipper if you like. It helps to make it a little less bulky, and you're just going to pin lining up the raw edge, and you want to have that raw edge lined up because this will become basically your seam allowance so that you're not sewing over the zipper teeth, which would be problematic for your needle. And just go ahead and clip it down. Now be a little bit cautious. It'll feel a little bit wonky over here around the curved edge. For the zipper, if you like, you can actually cut little snips into the zipper tape to help make it a little bit easy, but mine is doing okay, so I'm not going to worry about snipping it. Take it all the way down. And I will tell you that I am actually using an 8-inch zipper, a 9-inch zipper, because I did not have an 8-inch zipper on hand. And so I think it's going to work out perfectly. What happens is I won't need as much of the zipper tape cover, the zipper end, but that's okay. I think it's going to work out just perfectly, and it'll create a little bit more of an opening in the zipper pouch. So now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and take it to the sewing machine. But if you are comfortable enough, what you can do is go ahead and lay your lining piece directly on top of the zipper tape. and you're sandwiching in that zipper tape. Use lots of clips and pins. If you're not comfortable sewing them both together, go ahead and baste that zipper down first. But we're going to save a step here. And by sandwiching in the zipper, and then I'm going to be sewing the lining piece and the exterior piece together all at once. I'm always about trying to be efficient and figuring out ways to do things that will take less time. Now you do want to get your zipper foot. Let me go ahead and switch mine off real quick. If you haven't, please check out the other holiday gift DIY sew-alongs that I've done. Let me make sure I'm doing it on the right side. Sew-alongs that I've done, they're all super easy. Some of them you don't need a pattern at all. Others you will need a pattern, but they are free patterns, which are the best. Okay, so starting down here at the very end, have my zipper foot on, and I'm just going to sew probably about a 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge. I can always come back and go a little closer to the zipper if I want. Feels like it's a little bit stuck in there. Make sure it isn't. There we go. Move the clips as you get there. Now, as I get to the curved edge, I'm actually going to go ahead and grab a little tool that will help me keep it down. And continue sewing all the way down to the very end. Once you've done that, go ahead and flip it right sides out. And again, I love sandwiching in the zipper and sewing on the lining at the same time that I'm sewing on the exterior of the fabric. It saves time, but again, if you want to baste it first and then sew the other side, that is perfectly fine. Now the option here, optional stitch, is you can do a top stitch. I didn't do this on the other 2 pouches that I made, but I am going to do it on this one. Let me turn my So this is completely optional, but I think it'd be really cool. I think it'll add just a little bit of something, a little extra fabric there. So let me see if I can take my time. Oops, it's getting a little jammed on something. Let me pull that back. Oh, it's getting jammed on that little piece of fabric. Okay, I'm going to start a little bit further away from the edge and then make my way back. Okay, there we go. You can hear my needle going through all of the different layers of fabric. And I'm taking my time to stitch close to that seam. Keeping it as even as I possibly can. Okay. There it is. And that looks really good. Get rid of a couple extra pieces of thread. That looks great. I'm going to finish up that little top stitch here. You may remember that I didn't start on the very end because it was snagging a little bit of the fabric. There's a lot of fabric that it is working with, not to mention I have the interfacing, the stabilizer, and I have the flex foam. So my machine, you want to go a little bit slower here. You're going through a couple layers of fabric and stabilizer. Okay, that looks good. Move that out the way. All right, so we have that zipper on one side, and what we're going to do now is right sides facing, we're going to do the other side of the zipper. So I'm going to start by pinning, actually I'll start from this end, lining up the raw edges, making sure I have that other piece lined up neatly there. There we go. And put in a clip. Now, because I did not clip my tape around this curved edge on the first seam, I am going to go ahead and do it to release a little. You can already see how the zipper is kind of pulling a little bit. I'm not going to zip completely to the teeth, totally just in the seam allowance to give it just a little bit of wiggle room as I make my way around that curved edge. So you can see I just a little bit, don't go too close because you don't want those little snips to show, and keep clipping. Add a few extra clips when you get to that curved edge. And now that I have that clipped, I'm going to open up the zipper a little bit. Good, and open that up. Okay. All right, so I have the other side of the main fabric, right sides facing on the other side of the zipper. And this is where we're going to sandwich in. So this is what it's going to look like. And you're just going to fold the lining, right sides facing, and go ahead and line it up. I'm going to move the clips and then immediately put them back down as I sandwich in the zipper between the lining and the main piece. Let me get down on this area too, make sure that that's lined up nicely. Take your time doing this. I'm just pulling to make sure that the zipper tape is completely lined up along the raw edge of my external as well as my lining fabric. It's looking good so far, guys. Again, I love to have these on hand. And people love them. People love them. I mean, they're great for sewing supplies. They're really great for your makeup, your toiletries, jewelry if you're traveling. They're super handy, and the fabric really makes a difference. So if you're making this maybe for a male or something like that, someone that prefers darker colors, you could use a vinyl or faux leather. You could use a suede. There's so many different options. So we're going to go ahead and, again, you should have your zipper foot on. And we're going to start from that end and go all the way down just like we did the first time. Kind of pressing my finger there to make sure I'm not hitting the zipper teeth. This takes a little bit of practice. And continue going all the way around. All right, this is where I say to myself, trust the process, because it can look like a jumbled mess, but trust me, it is coming together exactly the way that it should. Okay, on the end, I guess the best way for me to describe this, you're going to have these two little holes now if you are looking at your curved pouch. One side is going to be a little bit smaller, and then the other side is going to be really wide open. Now, what you want to do is on the side that is really wide open, go ahead and line up, lining to lining, and exterior fabric to exterior fabric. Oh, let me not forget my little tag. I always forget my tag. So this is the place that if you want to use your fabric tag, go ahead and grab it. You can do it on the inside of your bag. I like mine on the outside of the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in between the seam here, lining it up against the raw edge, making it as straight as possible. And then I'm going to clip that down, a couple clips there to make sure that that doesn't move, and go right down to that point. So on the other side, you want to do the exact same thing. Line up those raw edges of the lining, right sides facing. Lots of clips or pins. Clips are definitely my go-to. All right. And then what you're going to do at the sewing machine is you're going to sew completely across. Be careful as you're getting close to the zipper. You should be fine because we offset the beginning of the zipper. So you really should just be sewing across the zipper tape here. And you're going to have these kind of little 90-degree angles. You don't want to touch those yet. So let's go ahead and sew from one end to the other end. That's how it will look once you have closed that long seam. Now we want to flatten the bottom edges. Let me grab a bag so I can show you what you are working on. So what we're about to do is this piece of the bag. We just finished this piece here, but we're going to work on this piece, which is very important to flatten the bottom of the bag. So what you want to do is, where was I? On this end. So you just sewed this particular seam. So you're going to go ahead and, so let me show you again. So it looks like this. You're going to pinch it open. Again, trust the process. This is when it really all comes together. Go ahead and put a couple clips or pins to hold that. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. This is the lining side. Couple clips. And then we're going to go ahead and sew just directly across. Let me make sure that's nice and flat. By the way, guys, I forgot to tell you guys what this incredible tool is. It is called an awl. So it's AWL. It is really handy for these type of projects to really hold things down so you can get nice, clean, crisp seams. All right. Oh, you can find it in my Amazon store. Super great game changer. So let me push that out the way, all of that. So I like to use this to kind of help keep the seam down, keep the fabric down, especially when I'm working with kind of bulky things. Let me make sure I got a little bit off there. Took my clip off and I got a little bit off. Let me go ahead and put another clip in there. As I take the clips off, I like to use the awl to keep it all down. Keeps everything in order. And just be careful that you don't sew over this because you can break your needle. So that's the exterior fabric that we just created the edge. And then we're going to do the interior fabric for that corner. I am laughing, guys, because I sewed those edges, which are perfect. And now I'm looking at this thing like, how in the world am I going to turn this thing inside out? Because when I sewed, remember that long seam here before finishing up the edges of the bag, the bottom edges of the bag, I forgot to leave a large portion of the interior seam open so I can turn it out. So no big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and use my seam ripper, go ahead in here and open up the seam. So what I'm going to do is reinforce it to about this area and then reinforce here, and then this particular area probably about 2 inches I'm going to leave open, and that will be what I use to turn it inside out. So that only took me really probably about 60 seconds to open up the seam. And honestly, guys, I could have retaped that portion, but I wanted to just show you that this is what really happens when you're sewing is you will make mistakes, and it's no big deal. I like to keep a sense of humor, and I just go ahead and clean it up. So it still looks really odd, but this is our opening, our lining where we've left open about 2 inches so we can turn the bag out. We have literally 2 seams left, one to close this up once we turn the bag inside out, but we need to go ahead and clean up this other edge. So it looks really wonky, but trust the process. So you see these little points here. You're going to open those points up like so and line up the raw edges of the fabric. I am going to use a few pins for this. Let me get in there. Maybe I'm going to use a pin. The fabric is pretty, whoops. I won't be using that pin next time. It's pretty bent now. Fabric's pretty thick, so the pins are not able to manage it. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing on the other side, which is the lining side. So it's going to look like that. You're going to open that up, flatten that out, line up the raw edges, trust the process, move your clip, grab another clip there, and let's make sure that that corner is lined up nicely against the exterior. Grab another clip. Now you're going to take this over to the sewing machine and just sew all the way across through the exterior the exterior pieces, 2 of those, and the lining pieces too. It is going to be pretty thick, so take your time as you do that. I'm going to flatten this down a little bit. I'm going to start kind of honestly midway. So that the edges don't come away. Grab my awl because I'm really going to need this. Let's get that out the way a little bit. And really using that awl to hold those seams together. And because I'm dealing with a lot of fabric, I'm going to flip it over and do the other half of the seam going in this direction. Okay, so you can already hear as I'm starting to make my way into the lining area how the needle is like, okay, let's take our time because it's going through a lot of different layers of fabric. Remember, I used pre-quilted fabric and the flex foam, which will make it kind of bulky here. I'm also, by the way, using a heavy sewing machine needle. So I switched out that's the wrong one. I switched out my machine needle for the heavy one, which will better tolerate this kind of a project. So let me show you that again. And I recommend you change out your needles based on the type of fabric that you're working on. And also after you've worked on a project or two, especially one like this, I will just toss this one away, because if it gets even slightly bent, you know, your stitches are not going to be as clean as you would like them. Okay, let's take my time going through this. Using the awl, getting down to the end. A little bit of a back stitch, gently, gently. Perfect. Okay, so that's all done. Just making sure that I caught all of the edges. Looks like I could go down a tiny bit on this side, making sure I got that lining piece nicely tucked in there. Good. Okay. Push that off to the side. Now the muscle work begins. I'm going to trim this up a little bit, being careful not to cut through the seam. All right. All right, now it's going to, this is probably in some ways not necessarily the toughest, but definitely you have to use a little bit of muscle as you turn your bag inside out. Some people call it birthing the bag, but it's really just turning the bag inside out. And because, again, all of these different pieces of fabric, interfacing, foam, and the like, and the pre-quilted fabric, it's a lot that I'm going to be pulling through this 2-inch opening. So I'm just going to take my time and begin pulling the exterior in first, because that's the area that's the part of the bag that's not as bulky. And just continue to do this, being as careful as you possibly can so you don't pop any of those stitches. And if you do, you just go back and clean it up and keep it going. So you can just see how I'm just taking my time, flipping it out. All right, she is turned all the way out and looks great, but remember there is one final seam that we need to close up. So open the zipper, and then what we're going to do is we're not going to flip it completely inside out. It's still going to be right side out, but you need to pull the lining piece away from the main bag. And that little opening that we use to pull the bag out, we're going to go ahead and get a couple clips. And this is going to be a little bit tricky because, again, I am using pre-quilted fabric and flex foam. So I'm just going to take my time as I did when I was closing up that last little corner. Get a few extra clips. You can press this seam first if you like as well, and I think that I will press it. And then we're just going to go ahead and take the sewing machine and sew that seam shut. And if you prefer, and if your material is too thick, you can do this by hand as well. I'm going to take it to the ironing board, press that seam flat, and then go ahead and sew it. And there you have it, a beautiful curved zipper pouch. I hope you enjoyed making this quick and satisfying project as much as I did. I think these pouches are so versatile and make fantastic gifts, especially during the holiday season. If you give this a try, I'd love to see your creations. Be sure to tag me, or please share your photos in the comments below. And don't forget, the pattern is free. I will drop the link below, and it's from Made for Mermaids. So please make as many as you like. If you found this helpful, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Happy holidays and happy sewing.